Economic Development Committee will now come to order. We apologize for starting late. Traffic was incredibly terrible this morning, and it appears that other members of this committee are having the same issue. As it was announced before the committee started, just to give people a courtesy, so in case they were waiting for item number 6, item number 6 still needs some work done by the CAO and the department, so that item will be put over for 1 week. Item number 6, that item will be put over for 1 week. We'll open up public comment for that item when we open it next week. And at this point in time, I don't have any public comment cards, correct?
For number 6.
Okay, all right. So if you're here for item 6, rather than be asked to come up twice, you'll come up next week when everybody will have their opportunity to speak. Okay, thank you. Now we'll go back to item number 1. The staff will read item number 1.
Item number 1 is a CRA report relative to the CRA's quarterly status report on CRA investments as of June 30, 2011.
Okay. There are no public comment cards on item number 1. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 1? Okay, seeing and hearing no one come forward, item number 1, public comment is now closed. That item will be approved by recommendation of the chair. I'm sorry. We'll note and file that item number 1. We'll read item number 2.
Item number 2 are CRA and CLA reports relative to negotiation and execution of a purchase and sale agreement with Silmar Court LP not to exceed $3.1 million for the acquisition of parcels at 12415 through 12421 San Fernando Road and 14938 Astoria Street.
And that item is in CD 7, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Council District 7. Is there anybody for public comment on item number 2? I see no cards before me for public comment on item number 2. Is there anybody here for public comment on item number 2? See no one come forward. Public comment on item number 2 is now closed. As a recommendation of the chair, we'll move to approve the CLA's recommendations. Now read into the record item number 3.
Item number 3 is the CDD report relative to authority to release a request for proposals for the 2012-13 Domestic Violence Shelter Operations Program.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 3? Okay. I don't see a public comment card. Okay. All right. All right. We don't have any questions for the department at this time. Is there anybody from the public here to speak on item number 3? I do not see any public comment cards before me. I see no one coming forward. Public comment on item number 3 is now closed. With that, we'll move to approve, as a recommendation of the chair, the CDD's recommendations. We'll now go to item number 4.
Item number 4 is the Parks Weezer motion authorizing CDD to negotiate and execute an agreement for a period up to 12 months and for an amount not to exceed $35,000 with Free Will Community Development Corporation for the purchase and installation of equipment for a recording studio and to create accessibility for persons with disabilities at the Free Will Missionary Baptist Church to serve low and moderate income residents of the community.
Okay, that's item number 4. We'll open up public comment on item number 4. I see no public comment cards before me on item number 4. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 4? Okay, and see no one come forward. Public comment on item number 4 is now closed. So with that, there'll be a recommendation of the chair to approve the motion. We'll move to item number 5.
Item number 5 are CAO and Mayor's Office of Gang Reduction and Youth Development reports relative to the results of the Los Angeles Juvenile Transition Initiative request for proposal and authority to negotiate and execute an agreement with the agency selected to become the Reentry Initiative Service Provider with funding not to exceed $313,000 for the period October 1 through 2011 through March 30th, 2013.
Okay. Is there anybody here from the public to comment on item number 5? Anybody here from the public? I don't have any public comment cards filled out for item number 5. See no one come forward. Public comment on item number 5 is now closed. With that, Guillermo, with the mayor's office, can you come forward? I just have a question as to whether or not is there any good news coming out of Sacramento or Washington or anywhere when it comes to re-entry. I know that you and I and the mayor and my colleagues have been working very hard, and I think we've gotten a handle on how to move forward with intervention prevention in a comprehensive way in the city, and making sure that we have outcomes, evaluations, et cetera. Again, even in that category, we don't have enough money. However, when it comes to reentry, is there any good news to speak of?
I wouldn't call them good news, sir. I think that at this point, the big issue with reentry really is directly connected to intervention. That in order to do effective reentry, we really do need to, at this point, our estimation is to double the amount of resources of intervention, because the issue is that when folks come back into the neighborhood.
And we're having more folks come back now than
Correct.
previous years, correct?
So that is the real challenge right now, is to work with the state and work with all the funding partners to be able to increase the level of resources available for intervention. So the good news is that we're all united in focusing on this. The bad news is that we don't have those resources yet.
And when it comes to the Shift Cardenas funds, it's my understanding that, I don't know exactly what happened, but they were funding it through mid-year, or were they able to get the VLF consistent funding through the whole fiscal year?
That is my understanding, and frankly, I'm not as clear as to what's happening with that.
If you could work with your team that reports back from Sacramento and Washington, if you could get over to my office, what the exact analysis is on the funding on the Shift Cardenas.
Sure.
Because I did talk to some legislators in the heat of the last few days of the legislature, and they gave me some answers, but I don't think anybody was really clear on what the final verdict
Well,
was.
I think that you've just put your finger on the problem with reentry, that it's very difficult to implement a program that is not clear, or a strategy that's not clear. So information seems to shift from day to day, and we're trying to keep track of all of it. But the project that we're here on is actually a very small juvenile reentry pilot program that we've collaborated with probation, sheriff, the county, to see if in fact we could implement an effective reentry program in one of the grid zones adjacent to the county's gang strategy. So that is again, it's a very small pilot program, small relative to the need, and it will serve a total of 40 youth. So,
And how often are you hoping to have collaborative information sharing to evaluate this pilot program with the various entities?
I think the scope of work calls for a bi-weekly meetings with all of the partners.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, all right. Well, good, that's a good timing of having those meetings. And how soon do you think you'll be able to give us some feedback on how things are going?
With this program in
Yeah.
particular, I assume there's going to be probably about a 3-month startup process to get everything rolling. There's a 90-day in-reach recruitment that needs to take place. We'll know right away if that in-reach is actually working.
So at right about 90 days, maybe a progress report of how things are
Correct.
coming together.
Sure.
And then maybe 90 days later as to how effective we're being with actually reaching the constituents that we're serving, correct?
Correct.
Okay, awesome, excellent. We're on item number 5. We've now been joined by Councilmember Alarcon. We've already gone through 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can also open the roll back up on those items for you. Okay, after we go through item 5. Any questions on 5? Okay, so with that, it'll be a 2-0 vote to approve the CAO's recommendations on item 5.
Yeah, but I'll still go with communications from the chair since we don't have a quorum.
Yes, communication from the chair. Thank you. So with that, we'll open the roll on items 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Councilmember Alarcon to weigh in. Okay, all right, it's still a communication of the chair because we don't have a quorum. Okay? Yeah, chair plus one. I think the traffic and the rain won this morning. Chair plus one then. It doesn't change the outcome. All right. So with that, we've already announced earlier that item 6 would be put over due to the work that needs to be done between the CAO's office and the Housing Department, and it'll be ready for committee next week with the report of the CAO by then, we expect. Okay. All right. Thank you. So with that, that concludes the items for today's agenda. We now open it up for general public comment for this committee. Thank you. Thank you,
We'll
Ken.
follow up with your office on the Chief Cardenas issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will open it up for general public comment at this time. Is there anybody here for general public comment for this committee? Seeing no one come forward, I have no cards before me. General public comment is now closed. With that, this committee is now adjourned.